This is the Transfer Show, live and direct from the iconic Battersea Power Station in London. The towers are red. Our breaking news is red. The red of Arsenal. Hi, good evening. Carve Solokol. Studio audience here. And we've been joined by the former Wales captain, Ashley Williams. Great to see you, Ash. Right, Carve, let's get straight to it. Breaking news in the last half an hour. Tell us.
Yes, Arsenal have made a bid for the Aston Villa striker, Ole Watkins. That bid has been rejected. It's expected that Arsenal are going to go in with an improved offer. Now, this story was first reported by Sami Botbel in the Daily Mail, and he has dug up some interesting information because he says that back in 2020, when Ole Watkins was at Brentford, he gave an interview in which he said that it was always his dream to play for Arsenal, and apparently Thierry Henry was his hero when he was growing up. Now, that may well be the case, but that doesn't mean that Aston Villa are going to be selling him to Arsenal. But it is big news, especially for Arsenal fans who've been crying out for their club to sign a new striker because they believe they need a striker to win the title. The story is a little bit complicated, though, because Aston Villa have got two number 9s, effectively, who are in demand. There's Ole Watkins, there's also John Duran. West Ham have been trying to sign him. They put in a bid. That was rejected. Now, Al Nassr, the Saudi club where Cristiano Ronaldo is playing, they are trying to sign a striker as well. They had basically agreed a deal to sign Victor Boniface from Bayer Leverkusen. He was packing his bags and getting ready to fly to Riyadh, but at the last minute, Al Nassr have switched their sights to John Duran at Aston Villa. He would cost them something like 70, 80 million pounds. Now, there is no way that Aston Villa are going to let both those players leave. So I'm being told that it's unlikely that Arsenal will get Ole Watkins, especially if John Duran ends up going to Saudi Arabia. And I'm pretty sure that Aston Villa's position is Ole Watkins is not for sale. He's got another 3 years left on his contract. Why would we sell him to one of our rivals near the top of the table?
What do you make of the timing? A couple of hours before Aston Villa play a really important game, and there's a bid put in for one of their most important players.
Yeah, it's bizarre. Do you know what? The actual the bid makes sense. I understand why Arsenal would want a player like Ole Watkins. I think he fits the system. It is exactly what they need. But the timing of it is bizarre. I think it's going to get Aston Villa's backs up a little bit. And if you say Arsenal are coming back in, then we'll see what happens. But from Aston Villa's point of view, they won't want to lose, in my opinion, either of those two strikers. I think we've seen so many games this season where Watkins has started and John Duran's come off the bench and scored important goals. To compete on a couple of fronts like they are, they need two really top-class strikers, which they've got at the minute.
What is he, 29, Ole Watkins? Does it seem a lot of money for a 29-year-old, which has already been rejected?
I mean, Arsenal have got a long-term interest in Ole Watkins. They're long-term admirers of the player. And we've always been saying that short-term and long-term targets will be considered in this transfer window. They cannot get a domestic player on loan in this transfer window because they've already used up their 2 loans in Neto from Bournemouth and Raheem Sterling from Chelsea. So it was going to have to be a permanent deal that they'd have to go for. Ole Watkins clearly is someone that they like, and they've gone big with this bid. But the cynic in me is kind of wondering, look, for them to do it with 5 days to go on the eve of a huge game for Aston Villa, surely they would know that Aston Villa are going to say no. I just wonder, is there another target that Arsenal have got, and maybe they're trying to push that other target by making it public? Here we go, look, we're going for Ole Watkins here. Because that kind of thing can happen, can't it?
Does that happen, Ash?
Yeah, 100%. Those kind of moves definitely happen that don't come out and we're not talking about, because phone calls go on, conversations happening behind closed doors, and you never find out about it. So that would make sense where they want some maybe they're down the line with someone a little bit and it's sticky, and so they've gone, OK, we're going to do a big public bid over here to push this guy. And if I was that player that's doing the quiet conversation, I might now be saying to my agent, look, they're moving on someone else, we need to get going.
One thing I will say as well, just very quickly, Carve, sorry. One thing I would say as well, we know how it works in transfers. When clubs make bids, they must be getting encouragement from somewhere that it potentially could be successful. Is it from the players' camp? Is it from somewhere else? Because Arsenal aren't just going to go in with £60 million and then say they're probably going to go back in with an improved offer if they don't think there's any chance, because they'd just be wasting their time. They've got to bring in someone. They want to bring in a striker. Mikel Arteta says they're working hard. They really want to do it, given their injury problems. So I'm just talking more generally, just in transfer terms, these kind of things might happen in a transfer window, because when you have a bid as big as that, surely somewhere Arsenal are getting an encouragement that Ole Watkins might think, actually, yeah, I do want to make that move.
Can I just float an alternative theory? And that is that Arsenal have realised today that Al Nassr have come in for John Duran. And they know that Aston Villa are not going to sell both their number 9s. So Arsenal have been told, look, John Duran is about to go to Saudi Arabia. If you want Ole Watkins, you've got to make the bid now, because you can't wait any longer, because once John Duran has gone to Al Nassr, there is no way you will get Ole Watkins. So perhaps that is why they have been almost forced to make this late bid today.
Do clubs put out feelers to players?
Yeah, there's multiple ways that they can do it, and they're not supposed to, but it happens all the time. It might just be you're in a dressing room, you've got an ex-teammate that plays at a certain club, and he's going to send you a text or phone you and say, are you interested in coming over? I've had a conversation with my manager. You say yes, if that's the case, and then they go on, and then we get to this phase where we are now. So it does happen in different ways. You know, agents are always talking to people because it's their job to do that. So those conversations aren't, they're allowed to happen. Agents are allowed to talk to people, other clubs, so that they do happen. And then, like you're saying, you do get a bit of interest. So then a club might hear he actually fancies, the player himself fancies this move. So let's pursue it a little bit and see where we get.
Has there ever been a situation where it's secret agent Ashley Williams where you've been told, look, let's have a little word with this guy, tell him that we want him?
No, because... Come on. No, because my thing was always, if you was on my team, then I'm going to speak to you. If you left my team, then you're an enemy until the end of the season, and I'm not bothered what you're doing.
Fair enough. We mentioned John Duran then, Carve. What is the situation with him?
Well, the situation is that Al Nassr really want to sign him. They want to sign a forward. Maybe Cristiano Ronaldo has put a little bit of pressure on them, saying, look, it's time we really challenged for the title. I want to win another big trophy when I'm out here. But they've been very serious about trying to sign another striker. And they have, according to Sky Germany, they'd basically signed Victor Boniface from Bayer Leverkusen, 60 million euros. Paperwork had been signed, he'd passed his medical. I think he was looking forward to earning 15 million euros a year tax-free in Saudi Arabia. He was packing his bags. And then at the last minute...
Do you think Duran is going to go there, though? Do we think...
Al Nassr have made this late move for him. I know it's controversial. A lot of people in the football world are saying, what is he doing? He's wasting his talent going to the Saudi Pro League. When he's 21, you go to Saudi Arabia at the end of your career, not when you are basically an emerging talent. But Al Nassr have made a big move for him, and obviously offering him massive money. And Aston Villa's position has always been that we're only going to sell John Duran for an incredible offer. And I think now we've reached a situation where they are basically getting an incredible offer from Al Nassr. And the Saudi transfer window closes before ours. It closes on Friday night, midnight Saudi time, which is 9 p.m. here.
What I was saying before, Mike, when clubs make bids, are they getting encouragement that a player might want to join? You've got a situation here where we thought Victor Boniface was all done. He was going to go to Al Nassr. However, now you've got a situation where, oh, hold on, is there an opportunity for us to get John Duran? Where has that come from? So if Al Nassr are really going to go for John Duran, are they now getting the encouragement of, hold on, this guy actually might want to join us? And so you've got a situation where now, I feel sorry for Victor Boniface now in a way. You've just mentioned all of those. You can see that 15 million. Oh, God, I can't quite reach it. Because now they're focusing on John Duran. Now, if the John Duran thing doesn't work out, what does that Oh, Victor will take you now anyway. How's that going to make him feel? It'll probably be 15 million a year. Will probably.
Maybe he'll get a new contract at Bayer Leverkusen.
Would a young Ashley Williams go and play in the Saudi Pro League for loads of money?
Not a young one. Not when I was 21. My goals wasn't money orientated, so I wanted to play in the Premier League. I wanted to establish myself, prove to everybody and myself that I could be a top defender in the Premier League. An older Ashley Williams would have definitely snapped your hand off for that, but a younger one, no. I don't see. I understand money is money, of course, and it's a job for everyone, the same as everyone else. So I would never begrudge anyone for going to get more money. But for John Duran, it seems like he could get that move at a later stage in his career. I'm not sure why he would.
I've got to butt in because I've got some breaking news, some serious breaking news coming out of the Etihad before Man City play Club Brugge. Apparently there's a fire that has broken out in one of the merchandising stands next to the Etihad. Apparently there are plumes of smoke and they're considering whether the game will go ahead. It broke out while City's new January signings were being unveiled in front of fans on a stage nearby. Now, we're hearing on social media that apparently the fire is under control and in hand. It is a developing story. We'll keep you right up to date with that, and we hope everyone at the Etihad is safe. Yeah, we'll keep a very close eye on that. All right, we've got an audience question now, which is going to lighten things up. Chantel, where are you? There's Chantel. Right, tell us who you support and give us your question.
I'm a United fan, and you'll be happy to hear I can get behind that trend, hashtag get Salah to Saudi. Be all for that. But my question is what is the advantage for United to sell Garnacho to Chelsea? At the moment, we're playing really inconsistency, and we need goals, and he is a proven goal scorer. And is he really going to be starting over Sancho and Madueke? Why would United sell him, especially to a rival?
Why would they, Ashley?
I think if they were to sell him to Chelsea, it would be because he doesn't fit in the manager's long-term plan. Although he is playing in the system at the minute and in the team, I don't feel that Ruben Amorim really sees a long-term future for Garnacho at Manchester United. On the other side of that, why Chelsea would want him, I've got no idea, because they've got better in those areas. So that doesn't add up one bit to me. I can't understand. I can't answer your question on that one. But I think for Manchester United, yes, he's playing at the minute because there's no one else better than him, I don't feel, in that squad to play. But you can see he doesn't look comfortable in this system, I don't think.
The other issue is that Manchester United do not want to sell Alejandro Garnacho, but they accept that selling someone who's going to give them pure profit with regard to their financial predicament, if you're getting £55 million for him, that goes straight into the accounts. And the financial situation Manchester United find themselves in, they could be forced into doing deals that they don't want to do. But coupled with what Ashley just said there, he's playing 3 at the back. He's playing 4 across the middle with wing backs, 2 number 10s and a striker. Garnacho isn't really a wing back and he isn't really a number 10. Granted, Ruben Amorim is talking him up. Yes, he's learning this new role, but Amorim now needs to start this rebuild. There's going to be so many brutal decisions that United are going to have to make to enable Ruben Amorim to start bringing in the players that he wants to.
And what's our backup? Is it Matias Kell? Is he the answer?
I'm sure we'll be talking about that. She's got ahead of herself. Yeah. I mean, it's clear that if one of these players was to leave, we're talking about Garnacho or Rashford, which I'm sure we'll deal with later on in the programme, but they will want to bring in another forward. So somebody like Nkunku is someone that they've explored the possibility and the conditions of a loan deal for, because if Chelsea were to get him, they'd gain a forward and they'd probably want to release a forward. So Nkunku would fit that bill and he could play in that number 10 role that Amorim would want. Matias Kell is another one, but it's all going to depend on what players will leave United in the window.
Right, I'm going to take a break. Just to reiterate the breaking news. Fire at the Etihad, we understand it's all under control and we don't think there'll be any problem with the game going ahead, so fingers crossed there. When we come back from the break, we're going to go to Villa Park to see what they make of the fact that Arsenal have come in for one of their players. See you in a moment. Hi, welcome back to Battersea. Just going to recap the breaking news. There has been a fire at the Etihad before Man City play Club Brugge in that crucial Champions League match. We understand it's all under control and there's no indication that the game will be affected. We will, of course, keep you right up to date with that and bring you pictures from the Etihad when we have them. Right, we have breaking news. Dharmesh Sheth, what
Yeah,
you
a
got?
couple of bits to bring you. Miguel Almiron has agreed personal terms ahead of a return to Atlanta United, the MLS club from Newcastle. Newcastle, remember, the deal is £8 million initial fee plus £3 million in performance-related add-ons. He's expected to sign a 4-year deal with the club. And an interesting deal here. Barcelona left an impact. Alex Valla has completed a medicomo. And you're probably asking, why is that relevant? Well, he was on loan at Celtic, the left-back. Celtic terminated that loan, sent him back to Barcelona, who in turn have given him to Como, which would open the door, further open the door for Celtic maybe to pursue a loan deal in this transfer window for Kieran Tierney from Arsenal. Remember, they've already agreed a pre-contract agreement for the summer, but I think they will now really go full speed ahead to try and bring him in this transfer window to get him on loan until the end of the season.
OK. Well, the breaking news, the big breaking news today has been, of course, Arsenal's bid for Ole Watkins. Villa have got an important game. They play Celtic in the Champions League tonight. Dan Khan is at Villa Park for us. Dan, very good evening. How's the timing of Arsenal's bid gone down there?
Very, very surprising, Mike. First of all, good evening from Villa Park. But the bid for Ole Watkins by Arsenal, a reported figure of £60 million just a few hours before this huge game against Celtic, where they're trying to secure automatic qualification to the round of 16 to skip that playoff round to finish in the top 8, I think comes as a huge surprise because there hasn't been any sort of murmur or rumour about Ole Watkins potentially leaving the club. Now, why would Arsenal want Ole Watkins? I probably hear many ask. Well, Ole Watkins, since he's arrived at Aston Villa, scored double-digit goals in the Premier League since his arrival, every season since his arrival 5 years ago at Aston Villa. And he's such a versatile forward, isn't he? He can score every type of goal. And we know what Arsenal's forward options, or the lack of, have been in the last few weeks with injuries to Jesus. Of course, Saka not able to contribute with goals with his injury as well. But you talk about the timing, not ideal for Aston Villa at all, especially with their other striker, John Duran, also attracting interest. Last week, they rejected a bid from West Ham just a day before their Champions League game against Monaco, which I can understand Aston Villa weren't happy about the timing of that either, and Duran still is attracting interest from Al Nassr in Saudi Arabia. So I'll tell you, Mike, the team news in just over half an hour will be incredibly fascinating to see if these bids, if these interested clubs have in any way distracted these players, where Unai Emery has perhaps had to decide to maybe drop one in the matchday squad or just leave one on the bench. Duran has only started 7 games in all competitions this season. He has predominantly, Unai Emery, gone with Ole Watkins for the majority of this season, but we'll see if any of these interests, as I mentioned, will have an impact on tonight's team, which, as I mentioned, is huge for Aston Villa to get through into the top 8 and automatic qualification to the next round.
Dan Khan, live from Villa Park. Thank you, Dan. Carve, this new format. When it started, we thought there wouldn't be any jeopardy. You ask Man City fans if there's any jeopardy. Do you like the format?
I'm not sure, you know. I know you want me to have an opinion on everything, but honestly, I'm not sure whether I like it or not. I think there are too many games. The league table is far too big. You know, even some fans I've been speaking to of like Arsenal or Liverpool, they don't look at the table. OK, we've had more...
Well, they don't have to.
But we've had more games between, you know, so-called big clubs playing against big clubs. But what has really been at stake? It's kind of felt like they've almost been glorified exhibition games until we've come to the final couple of games. So I still think the jury's out. I think UEFA were forced into making these changes because of the threat of the Super League. The owners of the big clubs were basically saying we want to be playing more high-profile games against, you know, the big clubs. And UEFA have felt that they have had to make these changes. Personally, I'm not sure I'm a fan of them. I don't look forward to watching Champions League games as much as I used to.
Ashley, don't listen to Grumpy. What do you think?
No, I have to agree a little bit on both sides because we're creatures of habit and we like things how they were all the time, and sometimes it takes a bit of time for us to get used to it. I have liked the fact that there's been some of the bigger games earlier on in the season, but I do agree that the big league table and then trying to focus on where all the teams are in it becomes a little bit confusing and you kind of forget about it a little bit. But I do think that it's nice every now and again when you have two of the bigger clubs in Europe playing against each other, although I will agree with you again and say sometimes those games can be a little bit flat. So, you know, sometimes it takes us longer to adjust to these kind of things, but I think we'll get used to it. And I do think that having the bigger games earlier on in the season is a positive.
All right, we've got more breaking news. What have you got, Dams?
Yeah, this is just confirmation of something we were reporting before, and that is good news for Queen's Park Rangers, actually, because they have signed the Tottenham youngster Yang Min-hyuk, who only joined earlier this month from the K-League One side Gangwon FC. He's joined on loan at QPR for the rest of this campaign. So 18 years old. I think they've got high hopes for him at Tottenham. It's a straight loan until the end of the season. And then when he comes back in the summer, he'll have a proper pre-season with Spurs.
OK, when we started at 5, we were talking Matias Tell. Tell us.
Well, Matias...
I'll do that again. Matias Tell us.
Oh, very good. Very good. Well, look, Tell has been told by Bayern Munich, we need you to go out on loan. You're not going to get much game time here. Of course, you know, he's a fantastic young player, one of the best young emerging talents in European football.
What is he, 19?
Yeah, French forward. So he's been told, look, you know, you've got lots of options, go and explore them. Up until now, he has said, you know what, I'm happy at Bayern, I want to stay here. I don't want to be a kind of guy who's flitting from one club to the other on loan. I'll stay here and fight for my place. But I think over the last few games, he hasn't been playing at all. And I think maybe the penny has dropped for Tell, and we're led to believe that he's now willing to go out on loan. Now, lots of clubs are interested in him in the Premier League. For instance, Chelsea, Spurs interested in him as well, RB Leipzig in Germany. But this evening, we've been contacted with some from people who are involved in some of the deals around Tell, and they're saying to us, look, don't get too carried away. We're aware of all these reports that he has decided to leave Bayern Munich, but we have not been told that as concrete information yet. So we're waiting to hear it from the player himself that he does actually want to leave Bayern and is prepared to move on loan somewhere else.
He's keeping it under his hat for now. He does not want to kiss and tell.
Enough. I shouldn't have started that. Lots of teams possibly in for him. Who needs to bring someone in the most?
Not Chelsea. They're in for everybody.
Yeah.
You look at Spurs and their injuries, but I think some of them are coming back soon, I'm guessing. They need bodies in the door. Obviously, Manchester United need bodies in the door. Arsenal need a 9. They need a striker. That they need somebody that's going to stretch the pitch for them. Manchester City have done some business already, so they'll probably. I guess they're over. That's them done.
Possibly a midfielder, we're hearing.
Yeah, so there might be something late, but they've actually been active in this transfer window, which is a little bit unlike them. But I guess like the majority of the clubs, if somebody becomes available, if that happens tonight or tomorrow, and they get the word, like what we're talking about behind the scenes, do you know what? Do you know who's available? So and so. Then that spikes their interest.
Look, forwards gold dust in this window. We've been talking about it throughout the 29 days we've been doing this show. So many clubs are looking for a striker. Ashley touched on it there. I just wonder whether the Tell situation is going to prick the ears of Arsenal. Clearly, they're after a striker. Clearly, they're going for it. They're trying to get Ole Watkins just now. Manchester United is the interesting one as well. Sky Germany are reporting that they are keeping an eye on his situation, but as Chantal was asking the question before about Matias Tell, it would require United to offload, for want of a better word, the likes of Rashford and or Garnacho if they're able to bring someone like Matias Tell in. So it's definitely one to watch in the last 5 days because he looks like he could be on the move.
I'm glad you brought Chantal in, because it's time for another audience question. I think it's Freddie. Where are you, Freddie?
Yes, sir.
Right, tell us who you support and give us your question.
I'm an Arsenal fan, and obviously it's great news with the signing of, or potential signing of Ole Watkins, but is there anyone else on Arsenal's radar at all?
Yeah, I mean, I've been saying this to Michael. We've been fighting about this the whole month. They're trying really hard to try and do either a short-term deal or a long-term deal in this transfer window. They can't do a domestic loan because they've already got two of their loans sorted already. Neto from Bournemouth, Raheem Sterling from Chelsea, so that's impossible. They can't unless one of those becomes a permanent or they send one of those players back. They could do a foreign loan, and that's why we're asking the question, would Matias Tell fit what Mikel Arteta wants to do? It's clear that Ole Watkins is someone that they've looked at for a long time. They're really going for it with him, but as we've been explaining throughout the show today, that the timing is absolutely extraordinary, and I think within 15 minutes or half an hour we'll actually find out what the team news is from Villa Park, and it'll be interesting to see if Ole Watkins is involved in the team, whether he was going to be involved and whether he's been pulled out because of what's happening. Is his head right? Can he play? So all sorts of questions, but I mean, would expect him still to be part of that team.
Ash, do you think his head would be turned with this news?
Well, it is difficult because I've been in those situations myself where you get a call or you hear something, or sometimes you're just watching Sky Sports and you hear something about yourself that you didn't know, and then you're calling your agent like, "Is there any truth in this?"
That was him.
But especially on the day of a game, it's bizarre. Now, looking at the type of person that Ole Watkins is, I think if he's got a game this evening, he'll go and perform as he should. He seems a professional, and he'll get it done. With that being said, if his dream is to play for Arsenal, now he might go in and say, "I'm not in the right headspace, and I can't play this evening." So it will be interesting to see what happens there.
Unai Emery would be fuming if that was the case, wouldn't it?
100. I think he's fuming anyway with the timing of the deal. But he would be, because it's an important game for Aston Villa. And like I said before at the top of the show, I personally, if I was Unai Emery, I know money talks, but I'd be trying to keep both of my two strikers. I'd be trying to keep both of them because I'm going to need them at different times in the games, different times in the season, and in the Champions League and in the Premier League.
Absolutely. Well, as soon as we get that news from Villa Park, the team news, we will let you know. We're going to take a break. When we come back, the boys are going to take you through all 20 Premier League clubs with the wrap. You'll find out what's happening at your club. See you in a moment.
Welcome back to the Transfer Show. Time now to go round the clubs.
Certainly is. Arsenal have had a £60 million bid for Ole Watkins rejected by Aston Villa. Arsenal expected to go back in with an improved offer.
Aston Villa also have interest in another one of their strikers. According to Sky Germany, Al Nassr have made a bid of just under £59 million for John Duran.
Bournemouth goalkeeper Mark Travers has moved to Middlesbrough on loan until the end of the season.
Brentford want to keep all of their attacking players despite interest in Johan Wissa, Kevin Schade and Brian Mbeumo. They've also dismissed a loan inquiry from Strasbourg for Fabio Carvalho.
Brighton remain open to permanent and loan offers for Evan Ferguson. Bayer Leverkusen and a number of Premier League clubs are pushing to sign him.
Chelsea are expected to resume talks with Bayern Munich's Matias Tell. Christopher Nkunku's chances of moving in the opposite direction would be much improved if Tell agreed to join Chelsea.
Crystal Palace, well, they're prioritising improvements to the defence in the final days of this transfer window.
After fears that he would return to Chelsea following his injury, Everton now expect Armando Broja to see out his loan with the club.
Marco Silva expects Fulham to have a quiet end to the window, but their eyes are open for opportunities.
Ipswich are looking for incomings to help them stay up, but one player has left the club. Fullback Harry Clarke has joined Sheffield United on loan until the end of the season.
Let's get to Leicester now. Ruud van Nistelrooy wants to strengthen his Leicester squad as they fight to avoid the drop.
Saudi Pro League club Al Hilal want to sign Mo Salah if he decides to leave Liverpool.
Manchester City have spent £120 million in this transfer window, and they're still in the market for a defensive midfielder.
Manchester United, Ruben Amorim is closing in on his first signing as the United boss. Patrick Dorgu is expected to fly into Manchester shortly to complete his medical.
Miguel Almiron has agreed personal terms ahead of his return to Atlanta United. He's expected to sign a 4-year deal with the MLS club.
Nottingham Forest are interested in Wolves' Matias Cunha. He's Nuno Espirito Santo's top target, but Wolves are adamant he is not for sale.
Southampton are focused on keeping winger Tyler Dibbling. He has attracted plenty of interest around the Premier League. They value him at £55 million.
Ange Postecoglou has said he expects Tottenham to be involved in the closing days of the transfer window. Live interest in Matias Tell.
Yeah, and West Ham United are still pushing to sign Evan Ferguson from Brighton. They've made the forward their primary target in this transfer window.
Wolves are in talks with Dinamo Kiev over the signing of midfielder Vladimir Brashko. They're also continuing talks over Kevin Danso at Lens, but face competition from Rennes.
Right, if you were with us earlier, you would have heard that a fire has broken out at the Etihad Stadium. Manchester City have issued this statement, those are the pictures. They can confirm there has been a fire in one of the outside merchandise kiosks located near the entrance to the Colin Bell West Stand. Emergency services are present at the scene and the fire has now been extinguished. The safety of all attending the match tonight is our top priority, and as such, all events planned for the West Stand reception have been cancelled, say Manchester City. They go on to say, including the welcome event for the new players and also the first team arrivals. So those are the latest pictures coming out of Manchester City this evening, and we expect the game to go ahead as planned. Ashley, now I've got you. I want to talk transfers with you because obviously you've had some. What is the transfer window like for a player?
It depends. If you're a player that's settled and you're hearing about good players that potentially are coming to your club, then that's great. If you're a player that's doing well and you're the one that's of interest, it can be a little bit unsettling because you know you're thinking about moving clubs, looking for houses, trying to get yourself settled, and then it might not happen. So it's a real tricky time, I think. And how often do we see a January signing really work out for that team in that season? So it's a strange one, the January transfer window. I'm not sure that it actually works out for many players or clubs.
We were talking about Ole Watkins potentially having his head turned. Did you ever have your head turned?
Yeah. Well, we played a semi-final against Chelsea. I think it was 2013. Won that in the League Cup, and then I got home. And then I got a call from my agent to say that Arsenal were
Arsenal
interested.
again?
Yeah, Arsenal again. Yeah, exactly. Arsenal were interested. I just got to the final, so over the next 24 hours, I'd said I want to play the final. Is that going to work out? Yes, we'll come back in the summer, which they didn't. So that never worked out. But you can see how it can happen very quickly. I played that game, and then the next thing you know, you've got a decision to make or. An option to take or not to take. So it's a little bit unsettling, and I'm sure everybody settles down once the transfer window closes. So
you've got a teammate and then he goes somewhere else. You touched on it earlier. Is he out of the WhatsApp group straight away?
Yeah, well, as captain, I'm deleting him out.
But do you stay mates, though?
Yeah, of course you do, yeah. There's some players that you'll always be friends with, and I'm still friends with them now. They're closer than others. And then there's the other ones that you don't always speak to, but if you saw them, that you'll be friends. I think once you've been on the pitch together and you've been through wins and losses, last-minute winners and losers, and maybe you've won a trophy or something, that's always a special band of a group of players that will always stick together.
Yeah, absolutely. Right, time for an audience question now. I think it's Matt. It is Matt. Tell us who you support and then give us your question.
So I'm an Everton fan, and I think it's fair to say the football at the end of the Sean Dyche's tenure wasn't exactly great. Just wondering what you guys think the road ahead is for him. Will any Premier League club come in for him anytime soon? Or maybe as he manages last Premier League game?
That's a good question. So does his style stop him from getting another job?
No, I don't think so. I think his style actually helps him get another job. Whether that's in the Premier League, I don't know. Possibly not, which is what you're alluding to. But I think there's always those teams that are struggling and they need that type of manager. We've seen it years past with Sam Allardyce, and I'd put him in the same kind of bracket. They wasn't getting enough. They wasn't producing enough chances. They wasn't attacking enough, which is what happens in a Sean Dyche side. But I think he would have liked a little bit more quality higher up the pitch in his team. But I don't think it hinders him. I think there'll be a club at some point that wants exactly what Sean Dyche produces, because you can like it or hate it. I'm not sure how you feel about it, but he does what it says on the tin, Sean Dyche, and he has done that with Everton. I just think that he didn't have enough, maybe quality, in the attacking part of the pitch.
Nice one, Ashley. We nearly lost Sean Dyche as a viewer then, but you saved that. We're going to take a break. When we come back, much more of the day's transfer news, and also many more questions from our live studio audience. We'll see you in a couple of minutes. Welcome back to the Transfer Show. Right, excuse me. The breaking news today has been Ole Watkins. Villa, really important game in the Champions League tonight. Darmish, does he play?
Yeah, huge game for Aston Villa against Celtic in the Champions League, and Ole Watkins starts for Aston Villa against Celtic. Remember, Arsenal have made that £60 million bid. It's been rejected. We're expecting them to go back in. Villa do not want to sell, and they've made a statement. Ole Watkins is starting, and on the bench is John Duran. So Unai Emery will be well aware of all the interest in his players, but he's picking Ole Watkins from the start, and John Duran starts on the bench against Celtic.
And you've got a line about Steven Gerrard.
Yes, Steven Gerrard has left Al Ettifaq in Saudi Arabia. He will be returning to the UK. I think it was by mutual agreement. Obviously, he's been the manager of Rangers. He's been the manager of Aston Villa as well. He moved to Saudi Arabia. He took Jordan Henderson with him. Jordan Henderson didn't stay out there very long. I've been told that the reason he's leaving is that all parties agree that the club did not achieve the goals that were set. Now, I've got a degree of sympathy for Steven Gerrard because he took on a big job at Al Ettifaq. Because I think if you move to the Saudi Pro League, ideally you want to be working for or playing for one of the big four clubs who are backed by the Saudi Arabian Sovereign Wealth Fund. And Al Ettifaq are not one of the big clubs in Riyadh or Jeddah. So he had a very difficult job. They haven't been in great form. I think they're in 12th place in the table at the moment, but he has left Saudi Arabia, coming back to the UK.
OK, enough from Carve. Let's get to the viewers. Right, viewer questions. Aaron, tell us your team and then give us your question.
Cool, so I'm a Chelsea supporter, but it's in regards to the Saudi League and the way that they operate. We know they're very money heavy. Do you feel that they've sort of influenced the landscape now across all the clubs and the signings, the expectations of the clubs of when they're selling players in these windows for the monetary value?
Carve, that's got to be yours.
No, good question. I think, to be fair to the Saudis, they haven't spent as much money as people were expecting to spend. They made a big splash in that first transfer window when they went crazy in the summer. But since then, they have been much more careful. Yes, they do pay incredible wages. The wages are tax-free. So I think if you're a player who is motivated by money, then Saudi Arabia definitely is something that you should consider if Saudi clubs are interested in taking you. I think when it comes to Chelsea, though, Chelsea have slightly changed because they were in the situation where they were paying big wages to players like Romelu Lukaku, Raheem Sterling, Kepa, the goalkeeper, as well. But since the new owners have come in, they have really cut the wage bill, and they're saying to prospective signings, you've got to fit into our wage structure. And I think they pay sort of incentive-based wages and bonuses. So yes, you can earn big money at Chelsea, but only if the team are doing well and you're playing well as well.
It's like you get paid for the word at the moment. Asmal, you're next. We're going to race through these questions. Asmal, tell us your team.
Yeah, Chelsea fan as well. So just to ask, in the last transfer window, I mean, we've got deep pockets, we spend a lot of money. So how much do you think we really have in tank? Is because the owners are not stopping by the look of it.
I think Chelsea's position this transfer window is that they're happy with their squad. I don't think they're actively trying to sell any players. But if they do sell players, then Enzo Maresca has been told that you can bring in replacements. So I think if the window was to end and they were to finish the window with what they have now, I think they would be pretty pleased, especially considering they got Trevor Chalobah back from Palace as well.
Right, Judon, don't worry, because we've run out of time in this part, but we will come back and ask your question. We've got an extended programme, so we'll get more viewers' questions after the break on the Transfer Show. So much going on tonight, so much more to come. See you in a moment. This is the Transfer Show, live from London's iconic Battersea Power Station on the banks of the River Thames. And we are inside the Sky Store, which has been reinvented to become our studio. And it's great, isn't it, when you've got a bald head? That looks great. Welcome back. We're with you until 7:30 when Soccer Special takes over and what is a really important night of Champions League football. Speaking of which, we've been talking about Matias Tell. Does he start for Bayern Munich?
This is a massive game for Bayern Munich because they've still got a chance to qualify in the top 8, so they don't have to do this playoff. They're playing Slovan Bratislava, and Matias Tell starts for Bayern Munich in what looks like a really attacking team. Harry Kane, Leroy Sané and Michael Olise all starting, but Matias Tell, that is the headline team news.
So if he starts,
what Vincent Kompany.
So what's the mood music? What are they saying?
Well, they could be sending a message to every other club. No one's met. No, yeah, he's our player. And what Carve was saying before, there's lots of talk about, well, he's asked to leave, but the information Carve was getting before was
that people who are involved in the negotiations are saying, look, we are aware of all the reports that are out there that he has decided to leave Bayern Munich temporarily, and he may well be moving to the Premier League. But we were told the player has not told us that himself yet. We are waiting for that confirmation. So just cool your heels. Don't get carried away, because we don't know whether definitively the player has agreed to leave Bayern Munich yet.
Ashley, if you were 19 at Bayern Munich, not getting played much, would you stay and fight for your place?
I think circumstances depend, and how he feels. Does he feel... All football players want to play football. That's it, because you work all week, Monday to Friday, you want to play on Saturday. So if you're not playing, you're disappointed. Now, he might have the self-confidence to say, do you know what? I want to learn off Harry Kane. I want to learn off Vincent Kompany. I want to stay and fight for my place. And rightly so, that's up to him. I just wonder if him being in the starting lineup tonight could be a look at what you can get situation. Maybe show him off he has a good game.
Put him in the shop window.
Yeah, shop window, and maybe somebody comes in and takes that.
I'm assuming that's not the case with Ole Watkins, our other breaking news story. Just recap that for us.
Well, the situation with Ole Watkins is that Arsenal have made a bid for the player. That bid has been rejected by Aston Villa. It's expected that Arsenal will go back in with an improved offer. The player is starting this evening in Aston Villa's game against Aston Villa. There have been reports that he has said in the past that he's an Arsenal supporter. It's his dream, apparently, to play for Arsenal when he was growing up. Thierry Henry was his idol. But of course, that doesn't mean that Aston Villa are going to say, oh, OK, we're going to roll over and make your dream come true. We're going to let you join Arsenal. I think Aston Villa's position has been very, very clear. They don't want to lose Ole Watkins. They don't want to lose John Duran either.
How do you see it playing out? For him and Duran?
I think for him, he'll want to go to Arsenal. I think he'll want to be at a team that's a little bit harder than Villa and challenging for the Premier League. I think for Unai Emery and Aston Villa and the Villa fan base, they definitely don't want to lose Ole Watkins. They will be wanting to keep him. I think they'll want to keep John Duran. I think they'll want to keep 2 top quality strikers in their team.
We're going to hear from Ruben Amorim shortly when he starts talking about transfers in his news conference. But before that, a possible transfer for him, which is really close. How close is it?
Really, really close. Manchester United and Lecce have agreed everything over Patrick Dorgu. The deal's worth around £29.4 million. So United will pay an initial £25.2 million, and then there's a further £4.2 million in performance-related add-ons. I think United will see this as good business because they were negotiating for quite a while with Lecce, and they didn't want to overpay. We think that the limit was going to be what they're paying right now, and they weren't going to go much further over that figure. So I think United will see that as good business as far as they're concerned. But as far as Dorgu's concerned, he wanted this move as soon as he knew of United's interest. He wanted to go to Manchester United. He wanted to go to Old Trafford. He's now expected in Manchester very soon. He'll take a medical, we think, this week. Personal terms are as good as agreed. And if he's registered by midday on Friday, then he will actually be available to play for Manchester United against Crystal Palace on Sunday at Old Trafford, if selected, of course. So Ruben Amorim close to completing his first signing as Manchester United's head coach in what has been a real problematic position for him, that left wing-back area.
Ashley, what about Amorim? Do you admire him for sticking to his principles, or should he have tweaked things just to get United through this rough patch?
No, I think that I credit him for it. He's got a system and a style of play. He doesn't have the players. He knows that. It's clear to see that when you watch a Manchester United play at the minute. I don't think he should change because I think he's trying to show the people above, this is how I want to play. And look, I don't have the right players. I need players in. And where they might be saying, you've got all of these players, he's saying, look, I'm going to play them. I'm going to show you that it's not what I want, but you brought me here for a reason to implement this system, and I'm going to stick with it. Yes, this season's a write-off for Manchester United, but it's a rebuild. I think people like Patrick Dorgu is now more suited to that left wing-back position. He's very physical. He's going to get forward a lot more for them. And it will suit Amorim, but I do give him credit for sticking with it because you don't want, as a player, it's terrible when your manager says, we're going to do this, you lose the game or don't perform well, and then the next day it's all changed again. Then you lose faith in the system.
Do you think he's got a free pass, though? Because he's come earlier than he wanted to come. So can things go horribly wrong at Man United until next season? Has he got a pass for the rest of the season?
I think it already has, yeah. And yeah, I think he does have that pass, yeah. From in my opinion.
Sorry,
yeah.
Sorry to do this, but Ruben Amorim is talking, and I've got to cut straight there, I'm told. Ruben Amorim coming up.
Again, guys, the situation is the same for every player. And the last time I talked about that in the last game, my sentence was that I will not put any player that don't give the maximums. I didn't say I will not put Marcus Rashford. So it's the same situation. When I feel that is the right moment, I will put any player to play. And I will say again, we are a better team with Marcus Rashford. And that is clear. He's a big talent. But until the right moment, I will not change my mind. That's all. And it's always the same answer.
Hello and welcome to Bucharest. Gabriela Bratosing from Antena 1 here. I've got two questions if you allow me. The first one is, your team is not going through a very, let's say, a perfect moment right now. How important would it be for you to win against FCSB tomorrow?
It's always important. Just the feeling of winning is really important. Then we have the situation of the playoff is massive for us. We can clean 1 week or 2 weeks without any game in the middle of the week, and that in this moment is really important. Like I said, the first thing is to win the game. We need to improve our performance. We need to see our players perform and to understand in each position they are better to play. So we have a lot to improve. We have to use every game, every training to see that.
Also, FCSB is on the 8th position at the moment. Is it surprising for you to see this, considering teams like Galatasaray, Rangers are behind?
No, it's not surprising, and we proved that in Premier League. We are Manchester United, and we are so low in the table. So anything can happen in football. We know that he is a strong team. Can score a lot of goals from set pieces, can win difficult matches, sometimes without any so much possession. So he's a really smart team, and we have to perform well to win the game.
Hello, my name is Teodor Jumutate from Golasso.ro. I've got two questions too, please. First of all, how will you react if one day in the morning of a game, Sir Jim Ratcliffe will call you asking to use in the first lineup a player that he wants instead of a player that you want?
That is not even a question. I'm the coach of Manchester United. That is really clear. Everyone here has a job. Andrew has a job. Lenny has a job. My job is to choose the players in that. That is not even a possibility.
And the second, how would you define the last 12 years of Manchester United with 10 different managers, including 4 caretakers, for 0 Premier League titles? Would you define it as a crisis?
No, it's not a crisis. It's a problem because this club is a massive club, and this club had a person like Sir Alex Ferguson in charge of everything for so long. And then when you lose this kind of personality in the club, sometimes it's really hard to start again. So I think that can happen at any club, especially in our club. It was like 26 years, Andrew, 26 years with the same person, 27, sorry, with that aura and in charge of everything, that build everything, that talk with all the kids, that to bring him here since under 8, under 14. So we need to start doing that without Sir Alex and with just a small help from him. So that can happen in any club.
Hello.
Well, we'll leave Ruben Amorim there. If he says anything else about transfers, we will go back to him. He just said Manchester United are better with Marcus Rashford. Does he mean that?
Yeah, I think he does. I think if he could get a Marcus Rashford playing at the top of his level, what he believes he can do, he would play him. But I think at the minute, for whatever reason, he doesn't feel he can get that out of Marcus Rashford, and he won't play him. And he seems very dead set on doing what he wants to do, which is, going back to your question, why I think he has a bit of a free pass. He's under no pressure in terms of having to do things for the sake of it. But we all feel, and we'd all love to see Marcus Rashford playing at his best, or fulfilling his potential of what we know he can do. And I think he'd be in that starting 11.
Dharmesh?
I was at that game, Fulham against Manchester United on Sunday. I was in the news conference where he made all of those headlines by saying, I would pick my goalkeeping coach ahead of anyone who wasn't performing at the maximum. The question admittedly was about Marcus Rashford, but he just clarified it there. It's not just Marcus Rashford. This goes for any player. So if Marcus Rashford starts performing to his maximum in training, which Ruben Amorim doesn't feel he is, and gives his all, then he will be back in the frame for the first team squad for Manchester United. As far as Marcus Rashford is concerned, I'm told he's training hard and he's very, very focused. But as it stands, we've got 5 days to go in this transfer window. Time's running out for him to actually get a move away from Manchester United. His preference is to go to Barcelona. But there's so many financial considerations for any kind of move for Marcus Rashford in this window. If you look at Barcelona, they would have to create salary space to even contemplate going for Marcus Rashford. And then you have to look at, does Marcus Rashford then have to relax his salary demands to facilitate a move? Do Manchester United then have to up their portion of how much they'd pay in wages for Marcus Rashford to help facilitate a move? All of these things would have to come together for Marcus Rashford to get a move away from Manchester United in this window. It is clear it would be best for all parties at this stage if he was to go on a straight loan abroad in Europe, away from a United rival, but getting regular first-team football. Alternatively, if he doesn't, then he is going to have to work harder than he is at the moment, according to Ruben Amorim, to get back into the first-team squad at United.
Dharmesh has just said it. Amorim just said it, that he was talking about all players. He wasn't. He was talking about Marcus Rashford, wasn't he?
I think Ruben Amorim is very refreshing because he actually says what he thinks in news conferences. I'm not sure how long that's going to last, but we've had him really wear his heart on his sleeve. He's come out and said this United team is the worst United team of all time. Then he's made this comment about his 63-year-old goalkeeping coach. So I think on the one hand, it's refreshing that he's saying what he thinks. But on the other hand, of course, it destabilises Manchester United, creates unnecessary headlines. So I'm not sure whether some people high up at United will be having a word with him and saying, look, you need to stick on message during these news conferences. And he was actually asked there a question about what would happen if the co-owner, Jim Ratcliffe, called you up in the morning and said, you have to start this player, a player you didn't want to start. And he dealt with that really well. He just laughed it off. He said, look, that is never going to happen. I'm the head coach. I'm the one who picks the team. I can't even believe you're asking me that kind of question. But to get back to Marcus Rashford, the only point I would make is we all know that he wants to go to Barcelona. That's his preferred option. But how much would he play at Barcelona? Because when you look at Barcelona's front three, Lewandowski, Rafinha, Lamine Yamal, I mean, is he going to get into their starting 11 for the really important games ahead of any of those three players? So I can understand the attraction of saying, yes, I want to put on that shirt, I want to play for Barcelona, but would he be a sort of bit part player if he was to make that move?
Yeah, all right, listen, I'm going to take a break, so I'm really keen that we get a lot of viewers' questions in after the break. We'll also get a bit more from Ruben Azam, so we'll see you in a couple of minutes. Welcome to the last part of the transfer show. Now, we've been listening to Ruben Azam. We've got a bit more for you. Here he is.
If he doesn't secure a move before the deadline on Monday, what is the situation for Marcus then? Does he continue to not be selected? Is there a back for him? How does that situation play out from your perspective?
Our team, you can look at our team and imagine the profile of the players, you know? Now imagine a talent like Rashford. Our team should be so much better with Rashford. But this Rashford, he has to change. If he change, we are more than welcome to put a talent like Rashford. And we need it. So, but in this moment, I think it's really clear that we have to set some standards. That's all. We are waiting for Marcus if he wants really, really bad. That's the only thing. So it's you try to make like something personally. It's not personal. I have nothing against Marcus. I just have to make the same rules for everybody. And that, for me, it's so simple. It's always the same answer.
Is it disappointing for you as a coach, though, to see a player with such talent and potential? We've seen it in the past, what he's achieved, that your message is not getting through to him.
I promise, Andrew, I will not give you nothing today about Marcus Rashford. I'm giving you a little bit. It's the same thing, guys. We need goals. We need 1 against 1. We need threat in the final third. Guys, what more do you need?
We've got to get some dinner and some sleep. Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys.
Dharmesh, what do you think?
Wow. I mean, he's dynamite in these news conferences now. And when he's asked about Marcus Rashford, he's completely honest. They're a better team with Marcus Rashford in the team. He was asked actually after that, just before that, about the links with Barcelona and whether he knew anything about it. And he said, I know nothing about it.
Knows nothing. All right, let's get back to the viewers' questions then. Judon, who has been waiting patiently. Your time is now, sir.
Yes, I'm a Manchester United fan myself. Just going back to Ruben Amorim's system, Onana was brought in by Erik ten Hag because it suited his system. Now that we have a new manager, how does he fit into Amorim's system?
Ashley, how does the goalkeeper fit into the system?
Well, it's been a struggle, I think. He clearly wants his goalkeeper to play out from the back. But it goes... There's so many of those Manchester United players that are struggling in this system. I think De Ligt is struggling in possession. The team is struggling in possession more than anything. So Onana, yes, I think he's a good goalkeeper, good shot stopper. I don't think he's comfortable enough with the ball at his feet, which we've seen clearly in previous games. So that's an area for concern. What surprises me is that goalkeepers can't get better with their feet at this stage in their career. It really surprises me because you'd work on something like that and then they would get better, you'd think, but they seem to not. But there's a lot. You mentioned Onana. I don't think that's Manchester United's biggest problem at the minute.
Nice one. Nick, you're next.
So I'm an Arsenal fan and Arsenal season ticket holder. We've got, just had to put that out there. Obviously great to hear a lot of Arsenal noise today. So we're after a striker. There's a few options. There's obviously the bid for Ole Watkins. There's Sesko, there's Tell, there's Duran possibly. Which one do you think is suited to Arsenal with the way we play?
Ashley.
Ole Watkins.
Why?
Because I think that what Arsenal struggle with a little bit is sometimes there can be a kind of a one-trick pony. We know they like to go down the right-hand side. I think Ole Watkins would give them a different dynamic of running in behind. For a centre-half, it's so difficult to deal with. You have to honour that run, which now gives a lot more space for all those players like Odegaard and the creative midfield players. I don't think Havertz gives them that. So I think Ole Watkins is one of the best number 9s at running forward, giving you an out ball, a clearance that he gets onto the end of. So for me, he would be the best choice out of all the ones you mentioned.
Luther, you're next.
Yeah, so you guys have been talking about Dorgu a lot this day. But Man United, every time they talk about their transfers, there's a lot about how they don't have enough money. They have a £15 million buyback clause for Alvaro Carreras and Benfica. Why isn't that someone they're looking at when he knows the squad and they had to battle to get him away from Real Madrid against Man City and other teams?
Darmit.
So they were considering him. They were considering bringing back Alvaro Fernandez Carreras because he was the one they were considering if the Dorgu one went over the limit that they wanted to pay. But there was still no guarantee that if the Dorgu one hadn't happened, and we're still waiting for that to get totally finalised, that they would have still gone for Fernandez Carreras. They might have just said, look, let's just keep Malacia and we'll move on and in the summer. So I think what United are trying to do with their transfers now, we've seen before, like if they don't get the first target, they have to bring a player in. I think they're trying to focus on who is exactly going to make them better. Would Fernandez Carreras make them better? Potentially, yes. But they think Dorgu is the number 1 target. And that's why they focused on him. And they had that in the background. And now they can allow Malacia to leave. And Real Betis have made inquiries about Malacia already as well.
Last January, we were resorting to talking about knitting because nothing was going on. Do you see the last few days being absolutely crazy, Carve?
I don't think they'll be absolutely crazy, but I think they could be a little bit busier. A couple of people I've spoken to today are still saying it's relatively quiet. I just got a message from somebody who's watching the show. I was asking him if he had any news for us, any developments on a couple of deals, and he was like, no, still really quiet out there. So I know there's a little bit more noise and a lot of talk around potential transfers this month than there was last year, but apart from Manchester City, there haven't been really too many actual deals that have gone through. I think it'll be a little bit busier, but it won't be crazy.
Okay. Our studio audience have been crazy. They've been fantastic. Thank you very much for coming in, Kaveh Darmesh and Ashley Williams. That is the transfer show for today. Coming up after us, Soccer Special. Boy, have they got a hard act to follow. Enjoy your evening.